Hey Aubrey, how you doing today?
I'm great, Lindsay. How are you?
Good. Any trips coming up in the near future for you? Anything?
Yeah, not too far this summer. I'm headed up to Idaho and I'm very excited. I may have mentioned to you, we are going to do the Hiawatha Bike Trail.
Yes.
I can't wait. If you guys have ever been to the Northwest in the US, you may have done this or you may have seen it. It used to be a train track and now it's a bike path because there's no train there anymore. And you're up in the treetops, these super tall pine trees. And it's
Wow.
like a 15-mile just kind of coasting through. And there are like 10 tunnels. One of them is a mile long. So you have to have a light because you're just in pure
Oh.
darkness part of the time.
Ooh, sounds a little scary.
It
But so
does sound
you're
a little
you're
scary.
biking through the tunnel,
You're
just
on
in
a
pure dark.
bike, yep,
Ooh.
through the tunnels. They shuttle you to the top and then you coast down for like 15
Okay.
miles. It takes 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
But just the looking at the videos of other people that have done it, it looks so beautiful. It's called the
Yes.
Route of the Hiawatha. I've always wanted to do it. It's a bucket list item. So I'm excited. I'm doing it this summer.
Amazing. You'll have to come back and tell us stories on the
Absolutely.
podcast of how it goes and what adventures you get
Yes,
on, right?
right? Be sure to
Yes.
follow us on social media. I'll post pictures,
Nice.
videos, so you can see it. I
Nice.
can't wait.
Love that. Well, today's episode is inspired by a listener question. And this question came from inside the iOS app reviews, right? This is Antonella, one of our amazing app users, app listeners, gave us a 5-star review, Aubrey.
Yes, thank you, Antonella. We appreciate the review. I'm always happy when people know about the app. It's definitely the
Yes.
best place to listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
You can search for, we have a really extensive back catalog. That's the
Mhm.
best place to search for keywords, episode numbers, and listen to past episodes.
Yes, for sure, guys. Go and check it out. Go to allearsenglish.com/app to get the app. Again, it's on iOS and Android. So, whichever device you use, you can download the app and you can start listening for free. Okay. You can listen to the podcast for free inside the app. So, check it out. Good stuff. Aubrey, I'm going to read the question. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi, Lindsay, Michelle, and Aubrey. You are all fantastic. I love your app and your podcast also. Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Yes.
I have a question for you. What about the difference between a journey, travel, and trip? I hear you every morning from Italy. Sending love, Antonella. Wow, that is wonderful.
I know. Thank you so much for the review, Antonella, and for the great question. These
Hmm.
words are interestingly different, but in some
Yeah.
ways the same. I'm excited to dive into this.
Yeah, and I'm always game for talking about traveling and
Right?
trips and all of that good stuff because I mean for me that's when I feel the most alive is when I'm wandering the world and seeing new things. That's when I come alive. I don't know about you, Aubrey, but
Yes,
sounds like
absolutely.
probably.
And conversations with everyone, right?
Yeah.
What is more fun to talk about than travel? Nothing, right? This is the
Yes.
best way to connect with someone to ask about recent trips, travel that they have loved. You need this vocab for those connection moments.
Yeah, so let's break it down. We'll start with maybe the most straightforward one, the one we hear often, right? Is travel, okay? As a verb, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly. So this is just, of course, the act of moving from one place to another. What's
mhm,
interesting is we do use this a few different ways, right? It can be about traveling to another country, of course, or
mhm.
just to work, right? Travel to work every day.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So I travel to work every day by car. I guess, yeah, travel to work. I suppose for me personally, I use the verb travel by car to go to work,
Mm.
like a daily commute. I mean, I tend to use it more for trips. What about you, Aubrey?
Interesting. So I'm curious. This is maybe more regional, right? If you're like, I only
Yeah.
use this for traveling. If I say I'm traveling, it's to a country. I definitely
Mhm.
hear this and I feel like I use it too to be like
Mhm.
I'm talking about my commute. Like, how do you get to work? Well,
Sure.
I travel like once upon a time I'd be like, I travel to work on the subway
By
or whatever.
train,
Yeah.
travel by
So
train. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, it works for both. Maybe it's just
But it
personal preference, right?
yeah, could be. And it's possible that it's more regional, right? Where you grew
Mhm.
up, they might use it more often just for like international travel, just like an actual trip.
Mhm, mhm. Or just saying, "I love to travel." I imagine many of our listeners are this way, just like us, right?
Yes. And if you say I love to travel, this is definitely implied that you mean these fun trips
Yeah,
visiting other places. This is not talking about your commute to
your
work.
morning commute. I mean, that can be a journey too, especially in the New York subway, for
Right?
example. It can be a
Probably don't
kind of a
love it.
journey. Yeah, different kind of experience.
Or you
Um,
might just ask someone, do you have any plans to travel soon? I think this is one of the best conversation starters, right?
mhm.
Because what if everyone wants to talk about their upcoming trips? You asked me that at the top of the episode, and that was really fun for me to share about the Hiawatha Trail that I'm going to be able to do.
Of course, of course. People want to share these exciting moments of their lives. So let them do it and then find out if you have something in common, depending on what kind of trip are they going on. Like if you had said, yeah, I'm going on a Disney cruise and I'm so excited, I might have thought, maybe we're not connecting on that level, right?
Right? We don't have this
Because
in
I'm not a
common.
Disney cruise person, right?
Right?
So we learn
Totally.
about the person, we see if there's a connection. These are useful conversation starters. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. And travel is used as a noun. And in
Hmm.
this, it's synonymous with the word trip, which we'll go over next, right? To say, like,
Hmm.
oh, this is the type of travel I love. And maybe
Yes.
it's like you're in first class. So you're telling someone, like, yeah, now we're talking. This is the type of travel I love.
Oh, yeah, another way to learn about someone and their values and their lifestyle,
Right?
right? Do they travel first class or coach, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Good
The
point.
next one is trip. So just a noun, a specific instance of travel. Usually it's a planned excursion with a specific purpose. Okay.
Exactly. So, for example, how was your trip? And this could
Yes.
be a road trip that they went on the last week, or maybe they went to Thailand, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't imply anything length of time. A trip could be short or long.
Exactly. Or I'm going on a trip this weekend. So again, this could be sometimes you hear like a guy's trip or a girl's trip, this
Yes.
expression where adults
Mhm.
will go with their own friends, like with their friends of the same gender sometimes, right? Just go party or hang out or bond, right?
Exactly. Or I don't know if I'll be able to go on any trips this year. One thing that was interesting that as I was thinking of examples, we would never use travel and trip together. We would not say like I'm traveling on a trip this year. It's really
Right.
one or the other.
No.
Even though trip is just a noun, travel is more often a verb. It still would
No.
be redundant to use both in the same sentence.
Right. I more often hear I'm taking a trip, right?
Uh-huh. Going on a
Mhm.
trip, taking a trip, but we wouldn't say
Mhm.
I'm traveling on a trip later. No, we wouldn't use both.
Traveling on a trip. No, that's
No.
doubling up.
Yes,
Choose one or
exactly.
the other. Make a choice here.
Totally.
Right, right, right. And then number 3 is journey. This is a noun, and this one is more fun, right? Because it adds a dreaminess. What is
Yes.
the connotation here?
Yeah. So this is interesting. It can be about travel. It can be usually a longer, more significant, maybe transformative travel experience. If someone says, I went on a journey traveling Europe for 3 months.
Mhm.
But we also could say, just I went on a trip for 3 months. Often, journey isn't actually used about travel, right?
Yes. Yes, I love this. This is gonna be can be more of a metaphor, right? We're speaking metaphorically. Like in the Connected Communicator course, our listeners go on what we call a journey to fluency. And in that course, it actually is literally a trip by car with me on video lesson, 12,000 miles around the US. You get to do that, but then you're also going on a journey to fluency. And then sometimes we could say we're going on a personal journey to enlightenment or something, right? We can
Exactly.
be to different places. Yeah.
That's such a good example because
Mhm.
you went on the road trip, right? But you're bringing
Mhm.
everyone with you on your journey, on their journey because they're
Yes.
learning English, they're meeting all of these interesting people, hearing these
Yes.
conversations. We would call that a journey. There was more to it than just the road trip.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So for example, tell me about your English learning journey, like we said, or what would be another sample sentence, Aubrey?
Yeah, you might say, "Oh, my education was quite the journey." And so
Yeah.
this really has nothing to do with travel. It's
Yes.
another word for experience. It was quite
Mhm.
the experience. Especially
Mm.
in this case, it might have been really negative. There might have been a lot of pitfalls, like, "Oh, it
Yep.
was quite the journey,"
Yeah,
meaning
that
like there were
Mhm.
some negative things that happened.
Exactly, and that's the implication. I know when you say that, okay, you've had some ups and downs in your education, something's happened, maybe you've overcome it, almost like a movie script, kind of,
Exactly, right? I wouldn't
right?
say this if it were very straightforward, everything was easy, I finished on time, then I
Mhm.
wouldn't call it a journey, especially with the quite the journey. I'm
Mm.
implying that it was out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and we could potentially do another episode just on this word as a concept, as a metaphorical concept. Sometimes we say, this person's on his own journey. It's a way if maybe they're doing something we disagree with and we see kind of
Good
a train
point.
wreck happening, and we might say something very positive like that to
Right? This is a really funny sort of critical thing that we'll say, be like, "Oh, that's not my journey," or "He's on his own
Yes.
journey." That's a great idea.
Yes.
Hit follow, guys. We need to
Yeah.
do that follow-up episode for sure.
That's gonna be a fun one. All right,
Yeah.
Aubrey, what else do we need to know here?
Yeah, we just want to point out journey is used as a verb, but it's a little bit outdated. I will see this in older
Yes.
books, maybe the classics. he journeyed to a far off destination, using it as a verb. You'll rarely hear this now in spoken conversation. We don't
Mhm.
use it really in common speech, at least not in the US.
Yeah, so true. I love that. So we need to know what words are in fashion, what are we using now? And now it's just more of a noun, really.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I would say
Mhm.
took a trip, traveled somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Aubrey, role play time, talking about upcoming trips. Yay, my favorite topic. Okay.
Yes. Want to start us out?
Yes, you said you're traveling to the Philippines this year, right?
I did have a trip planned there to visit a friend, but she's actually moving back to the States.
Oh, bummer. Was she living there long?
A couple of months. Her grandparents are from there, so she was on a journey to see where they grew up.
Nice. Yeah, and sometimes people will do this. They'll visit, the land of their grandparents or their parents, and that's also a metaphorical use, right? It is an actual trip, it's a
Yes.
journey, but it's also an inner journey, right?
Exactly, right? Because you're trying to find out your roots, where your ancestors lived, what life was like for them, your history. That would be
Mhm.
considered a journey. This reminds me of the movie A Real Pain. Did you see that?
No, that one
It
I
won a
didn't
bunch
see.
of Oscars. It's
Hmm.
with Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh,
I
yeah.
highly recommend it. They're
Okay.
Jewish. Their grandma
Mhm.
was from Poland, and they go to have this journey to see where she lived, and they visit an actual concentration camp. And
Wow.
so this is the only time I have seen real footage inside a concentration camp because I haven't
Yeah.
had the chance to visit them. It's
Mhm.
very sobering, but
Wow.
the film is really quite beautiful. I definitely
Okay.
recommend it.
I'll check that out.
Yeah,
Good
for
good
sure.
movie recommendation. All right, let's go through our role play. Aubrey, what was the first thing I said here?
Right, you said you're traveling to the Philippines this year, right? So you could say you're taking a trip to the Philippines, but we can use the verb here. You're traveling to the Philippines this year, right?
Yep, good. And then you said I did have a trip planned there to visit a friend, but she's actually moving back to the States. Okay.
Exactly. And notice we don't ever see them both, right? You wouldn't say, I did have a trip planned to travel to the Philippines, right? If you have one, that's already implied that there's travel involved when you say trip. So you wouldn't use them
Mhm.
both.
Mhm. Good. And then what? What's the last thing we
And
said?
I said she was on a journey to see where they
Mhm.
grew up, right? So this is, like
Mm.
you said, this is a journey about, more what's happening inside you, your thoughts, it's more of an experience.
Yeah, and I think the biggest mistake to watch out for, I have heard non-native speakers use the word journey when really the word would be trip that we're looking for.
Mm,
Or even sometimes I'll see on websites that have been translated from another language into English, or even different
mm.
airlines will sometimes say journey, and you can get away with it. It works, we get it, but trying to throw in there your trip would also be kind of modern, right?
Absolutely, and you might
Mhm.
see this in, like we were saying, in older books, right? The
Yeah.
Odyssey. They might say he went on a journey, right? We just don't say that much anymore. It's really a
Mhm.
little bit outdated,
Yeah.
antiquated. There
Yeah.
are ways that we would say this now that are much more updated.
Yeah, or even like international airlines that, have translated their apps into English or something. You
Mm,
might see
yeah.
this for sure.
Mhm.
So super interesting, important to be relevant. Aubrey, what's the connection skill? We know what it
Yes.
is,
Right?
right?
Absolutely. People love to talk about recent trips they went on or upcoming trips. If you have coworkers in English or friends, anyone, this is such a great connection skill to ask them about a trip they have planned,
Mhm.
travel coming up. So fun.
So good. Well, enjoy the Hiawatha Trail. Can't wait to
Thank
hear the
you.
stories, Aubrey, when you get back. All right?
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
guys. This was fun. Enjoy your upcoming trips. Hopefully, you
Yes.
all have some fun summer plans.
Mhm. For sure. Aubrey, talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Bye.
Bye.